talking about data-driven stochastic optimization for power grid scheduling under high wind penetration.
So my name is Wei. I'm assistant professor at Northeastern. It's close by. So today's topic is different with other talk. So today I will present more focus on the methodology part. The methodology can be applied to guide the scheduling decision for the smart grid system with renewable energy. Include so currently we consider the wind power, and then also the methodology can be also applied to the solar energy. So basically, with the more and more renewable energy get involved in the smart power grid, how we model the scheduling problem to hedge against the different source of uncertainty. So that is the focus of this talk. So that means directly we go to the mathematical modeling part. As we notice that we consider the smart power grid with high renewable energy penetration. So that means here the psi is the random renewable energy. So here we can see this is the renewable energy, the wind energy. And then in this formula, the first stage decision is the first stage unit commitment decision. So this is for the smart power grid scheduling decision. The second stage, Y, is the second stage economic dispatch decision. So that means how much we produce. How much we produce depends on the unit commitment decision, and also depends on the realization of wind energy. So that is the second part. So eventually, for the two stage, so that means we consider two stages, the stochastic unit commitment problem. So that is we want to solve. Then we consider the constraint from the balance demand and supply balance, and also the constraint related to the transmission line capacity of this. We just consider general form. The basic idea is for this two stages, the stochastic unit commitment. If we indeed know this FC, that is a stochastic process, characterizes the uncertainty of renewable energy side, then we can solve this formulation to find the optimal scheduling decision U, and also second stage for the dispatch decision. The point is, when we really do the scheduling decision for the real smart power grid, we don't know the stochastic process of underlying the renewable energy, the FC. So that's the reason we need to estimate it with historical data of the wind power generation, say in the past few years data. So when we estimate this stochastic process, basically this also introduces error. So that means basically we use F hat. We don't know exact one, but we can, based on the historical data, to estimate. So that is F hat. In the current practice, typically, since we don't know, we estimate this stochastic process, we just plug into this two-stage or stochastic unit commitment model to find the optimal unit commitment decision. And then to pursue further, try to solve this problem isn't so straightforward, because we have this expectation. For each realization of the wind power, we also need to solve the second stage optimization. So that means we don't know closed form of this expectation. Then typically this as AA means the sample average approximation. Means we will use a finite number of scenarios, the psi generated from f hat, to estimate this expectation. Then in the classical literature, we will say, okay, now after approximate, we can solve it. The point is, when we use the finite number of scenarios to estimate this expectation, this further introduce, we call it finite sampling error, because this is a population expectation. This is just a sample mean, right? So that means you can notice that the current practice indeed consider the uncertainty of the wind power, but it ignores another two sources of uncertainty. So first uncertainty, you can notice that we call it stochastic uncertainty. So that means indeed we cannot know exact how much wind power can generate next day or next week. So eventually this indeed have stochastic uncertainty we cannot control. So that means sorry, the current model indeed considers the first source of uncertainty, but it ignores another two sources of risk. Another source of risk is we call it model risk. Because this underlies the stochastic process, you don't know it. You estimate by the finite data, no matter you call it large data or not, but you still don't know estimate with data. So this causes a model risk. The second is we use the finite sampling or the sample mean to estimate the expectation. This introduces a finite sampling error. This typically is a large impact because with renewable energy become high penetrate, the percentage of energy from the wind power increase. Eventually this risk become larger, so that means this use a finite sampling scenario to estimate the expectation is even larger. Okay, so that means the current practice ignores the model risk, ignores the finite sampling error. Okay, because of ignores these two sources of uncertainty, eventually you will notice that we just use the 6-bus very simple system to easily illustrate the current practice will lead the bad and also unreliable result. But definitely our approach can be applied to general like smart power grid. Okay, so that means let's move to how to consider the first source. That means, as we mentioned, the current practice indeed considers the stochastic uncertainty. Then let's first consider the model risk. So how to model it? That means now we have a model risk because data, or because this stochastic process is really come from the stochastic process notation use F. Really, this stochastic process is estimated by the finite data. Then we use the posterior distribution to characterize the model risk. Then further use the posterior predicted distribution characterize both. You see, this is a stochastic uncertainty. Then this is model risk. Integrate together, generate a posterior predicted distribution. It automatically considers stochastic process and model risk, right? Then we further introduce this data-driven stochastic unit commitment. You can notice that look like very similar, but model is totally different. That means this expectation is then before you have the expectation, just plug in the point estimator of stochastic, the prediction model. Now we further use this like prediction, posterior prediction process. That is considered both source of uncertainty. Then the point is we want to solve this problem. Then the question is still have the question related to the how to build this like prediction model, right? The prediction model, because of FC, that is a stochastic process of the random of wind power. So that means it indeed have a lot of rich properties. So here we propose this non-parametric probability forecast. This is a very flexible forecast model. It can capture the rich property in the historical data. So the basic idea you can think in this way. The wind power really depends on certain state of the weather. Say if now today when I drive when I come from my office to here, it's very windy, right? So this weather is in certain state. So, but indeed the state of the weather really, you don't know how much state, underlying state of the weather could be. So that means we model the underlying state dynamic behavior by the infinite state marker for switch autoregression. Then eventually how many states we have learned from historical data. Learn from historical data, we can know at least in the historical data how many potential states show up in the data. In each state of the weather state, we further model the wind power. So this not only be wind power, could be the solar power, should be fine. So with the AR time series model. So we follow the idea of this non-parametric approach to capture the rich property of the wind stochastic, underlying stochastic process. Then the point is we need to still fit learn this model from the data. So that means from the data denoted by the top. Then now we have this posterior distribution still further characterize this model risk. After that, you can notice that we indeed can learn from rich historical data and also build a very flexible forecast model and also derive this posterior distribution. And then eventually we get the posterior predicted distribution. Then we need to solve this two-stage optimization to find the optimal policy, that is the unit commitment decision and scheduling decision. This automatically hedge about this all the prediction risk. But we still have the problem. That means we still need to solve this optimization with expectation, right? That means we still need to rely on the SAA, that is sample average approximation. That means still uses the finite number of scenarios to estimate expectation. So that means if you have only finite number as a scenario to estimate this expectation, that means it further introduces finite sampling error. So here we further propose optimization and selection procedure to eliminate the impact from the finite sampling error, uses a finite number of scenarios to estimate expectation. So basically the idea is explore the parallel computing, right? Because in the real scheduling like a problem, we really want to get a decision pretty fast. Especially this methodology can be also applied to a very complex power grid. So that means potentially the computation for each optimization could be very complex. So this is the main step of optimization selection. So that means we will utilize L parallel computing, that is parallel CPU. Each CPU core will solve this SAA approximate stochastic unit commitment problem. That is exact here. Each computer CPU will solve this problem. That means eventually for each one, they get the optimal DCE, unit commit DCE. But for all the L CPU, they solve all this result. We get mu1 hat star until mu L hat star. So the variation of all these candidate optimal DCE indicate impact from the final sampling approximation error. So this is what we call optimization. You indeed explore the parallel computing to solve the optimization problem. And then also this candidate provide your idea. Indeed, the finite approximation have the impact on the result. The next question is about the selection. How to explore the parallel computing and the sequencing, learning to efficiently find which one is the best. So basically here we explore the optimal computational allocation approach. So that means now, based on the current estimation, we want to say which one is better. We don't further solve it. We just add more scenario there. So that means add more scenario estimation at most promising candidate, right? We don't solve, but we improve the assessment. So, but which mu to add? Which is most promising candidate? We don't add all, right? So basically, the idea is the current best candidate is the one you get, the current one. But each one indeed estimate with uncertainty. That means for the other candidate decision, you will see the difference with the current best. But indeed, for each one, you estimate only give a number of scenarios, you estimate this have uncertainty. So that means if they are close to each other, say the second best is closer to the first best, you will add more scenario there to estimate the performance better in some way to reduce this. If it's so far from the optimal one, and also you are sure that is definitely not optimal one, you don't need to even spend any effort there. So basically, this is, we call it sequentially optimal selection to select the best decision. Then after that, we just use a very simple case to illustrate the idea. So here we use the 6-pass system. This 6-pass system to illustrate the performance of our approach. In the case 1, we compare our approach with current in the industry used most is the deterministic unit commitment. How they do that? They base on all the historical wind power data, calculate the mean, and suppose that is the point estimator directly plug in the prediction model. The second is the current empirical stochastic unit commitment. Use all the historical data, estimate the stochastic process, plug in the stochastic unit commitment, then compare with our approach, consider all 3 sources of uncertainty. Then the second case is try to see the performance of the 2-stage optimization procedure. So the point is to compare which approach is best. We don't know this FC. That is indeed underlying stochastic process of the wind power, right? So that means we must use the real world data. So here use here use this psi R indicate real world data. So D indicates that this day H is related to the hours. So basically this is for the U you get from 3 candidates, this is a model. You can solve, you get U. Then this is for the evaluation. Then for a given candidate U, you solve from different model. Then this is the first stage cost. Second stage, you still solve the optimization, right? Then how they solve the optimization still depends on the true realization of the wind power. You see, here is after you consider in the historical you have ND days. Each day you have 24 hours. Then here we consider intraday market. That means the planning horizon maybe here is only 4 hours. Then suppose in this example, all the 3 generator is a fast start generator. Then let's see what the performance look like. So, okay, so just how many minutes?
Negative.
Oh, okay, almost done. And maybe two more slides. Okay, try to speed up. Yeah, yeah, sorry, catch cold. Okay, so that is, you see here is, yeah, I try to, yeah, so here is, this is the D is deterministic result. So there could be deterministic have the worst case, so that means we compare the relative error compare with deterministic result. So that means definitely empirical stochastic unit commitment have the cost ceiling. And further, because our approach further considers the model risk, we see advantage. They further consider the 2-stage optimization. So that means this first, so that means we compare, this is all from our model, but for this is, for the first one, we don't consider the final sampling error. And then for the other candidate, we indeed have this 2 phase. So that means we still consider the relative ceiling. You can notice that here the two phase optimization selection indeed considers the final sampling error improve the decision performance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any burning questions? With that, if there are, we can talk to the speaker afterwards, so now there's lunch. Thank you again.